As mentioned, I have the great honor and privilege of leading Human Options. It's an organization here in Orange County, and our mission is to ignite social change by educating Orange County to recognize relationship violence as an issue that threatens everyone, advocating for those affected by abuse, extending a safe place for victims, and empowering survivors on their journey to healing. I'm gonna leave that up for a second. Recently, we changed our language and we started to shift away from domestic violence specifically. When I walk into a room and people ask, well, what do you do? And I say domestic violence, I instantly get these looks. They're either looks in the eye where people will automatically shut off because it's too scary to talk about, or they'll automatically say, oh my goodness, thank you, that's such difficult work. And then there's those who just know. And the knowing comes from experience. And nobody knows domestic violence or relationship violence and its effects more than the person who has actually lived in that environment. I want to take a minute and have you listen to a call and listen to the experience of a child who's living in an abusive home. And I don't know how to click it, so. And for those of you, this could be triggering. Please take care of yourselves. If you need to get up and walk out, please do so.
On the 21st, 1991, time 22:13 hours. This will be a 911 call, position CT07.
Standing emergency. Standing emergency.
My mom and Debbie are having a fight.
Is he hitting her?
Stop it! Send the police, please.
Okay, we're going to be there. We're taking your
Stop it! No.
Let me talk to you. Where's your mom?
What?
What's going on?
They're having a fight because this is bingo forever and ever. They always have this because he has a cousin. He's always drinking beer and getting drunk. And Mom,
What's his name? What is his name? Your father's name?
he's my stepfather.
Okay, how old is he?
Stop it!
What's going on? Lisa? Lisa? Fighting audience. What's going on?
Hurry, Mom.
How's he hurting her?
He made his mommy.
Okay, don't cry. We're going to send the police.
Okay.
Okay, now where's your mother at right now?
She's in the room fighting with them. Okay, could you just send the police?
Yeah, they're on their way, but I'm going to keep you on the line until they get there, okay? Is your front door open?
Oh, no.
Can you go and lock it and come back to the phone so the officers can get in?
This way, please.
Okay.
He just knocked my sister out.
What sister that he knocked out?
My little sister.
You're doing...
Oh, my God.
What's the matter?
Nothing happened. Just please send the police. Wait, I want to go see what happened, please.
Okay, the police are on their way, okay? Hello? Lisa? The police are on their way, okay?
Mama, the police are coming. My stepdaddy's got the baby now.
Yeah, Lisa, where is he at now?
What?
Lisa, where is he? Hello?
If we could get it back to slide. That's incredibly difficult to listen to. I've been in the field for over 20 years, and it's still difficult for me to listen to. It is something that children have to live with every day. 36% of 911 calls come from children experience domestic violence in their homes. This is something that's real. It's something we need to pay attention to. The effects can be varying. If you notice, when Lisa was talking, there were moments when she was really heightened, crying, screaming. And then there were moments when she appeared calm. Hold on a second, I'm gonna go check. And then she'd scream, And then she calmly went to open the door and came back to the phone. What happens is children learn to adapt, right? They learn to deal with all of that chaos that's happening in the home. And what they learn is outside of their home, they have to project in a way where nobody knows what's happening at home. That child has to go to school the next day. That child has to pretend nothing's happening, because if they say something, things are worse for mom. I'm gonna share a couple of stories because I think it's the best way to really drill in the impact this has on children. Children either become protectors, they become defiant, or they run away. We worked with a 15-year-old girl who shared a story that every day she would get dressed and ready for school. And it wasn't mom taking her to school, it was her dad. And what dad would say as he got her to school, first he'd have to coax her and say, you have to go, you have to go. But as he got up to the school parking lot, he would say, you better behave. And just remember, if you tell anybody, when you get home, mom's gonna be in a body bag. That plays an incredible role in a person's psyche. That poor girl had to now sit in class, try and focus on what was being taught, while also worrying that when she got home, she would not have a mom. This week, every week, I get to talk to different people and I get to share the work that I do. And very often, someone will disclose the home that they grew up in. Just this week, I was talking to a vendor. She's trying to get our business, and I started to talk about what we did, and she says, when I was 15 years old, I ran away from home. And her eyes teared up, and she said, you know, my mom was being abused by my stepfather for years, and she never, ever did anything. And as she talked about it, her voice got angry. There was tears in her eyes, which would express sadness. But the anger in her voice was what struck me. And she says, my mom did nothing. So, on the one hand, I know many of you probably think, gosh, what was mom doing? Why did she stay? What I want you to know, though, is that mom doesn't have the capacity to leave. She has been broken down, criticized, humiliated, and told that she is nothing. As I talked to this woman, I said, you know, your mom was probably very afraid and didn't know what to do. And she says, she didn't try hard enough. So we talked a little, and I said, well, tell me about that. And what she says is, she says, wow, one time she reached out. She went to the social service office, and she started to tell the story. And the woman at the counter said, fill these forms out. She says, and my mom slunk down, and she started to fill out the forms. And I nudged my mom, and I said, Mom, tell them. And my mom just couldn't do it. And she said, when the lady asked her again, my mom didn't share what was happening at home. My mom just said, actually, I think we're leaving. That young girl saw her mom attempt to get help one time. And nobody paused to see that this was a struggle for this woman, that it took a lot for her to get out of her house and to go ask for help. That young girl, what she saw was mom didn't try hard enough. The woman at the counter could have and had the ability to reach out and respond in a different way. As an organization, we realize, yes, it is incredibly difficult to see that somebody's going through an abusive relationship, and it's hard to understand why they're there. But I'll tell you, we've heard thousands of stories annually where women and men who have been abused say, I wish he would have struck me or she would have struck me. I wish that instead of telling me I was useless and worth nothing and nobody would ever believe me, that they just would have taken a swing at me because the bruises would have healed. But that message that nobody will ever believe me, that message that nobody cares, It's with me all of the time. When somebody's trying to talk to me, when I'm trying to reach out for help, I just know he was right. Everybody in this room has the power to change that story and that narrative for somebody who reaches out for help. This picture that you're seeing was drawn by an 18-year-old boy. This young boy saw his mother abused by his stepfather. And it wasn't physical, which many of you may think, well, it wasn't physical, why? Why didn't she leave? But it was psychological. Again, that emotional, psychological abuse that leads people to think, oh my gosh, nobody can ever, ever love me. I am not worthy. So this young boy saw this mom, and he drew a picture of her and said, this is my mom. So I want you to stop for 1 second and just look at that. What is the message that that young boy is seeing about women? Right? Weak, quiet, broken. That's the message that that boy had. That wasn't the mom that he knew. That mom, fortunately, was able to reach out and get assistance, and she was able to work with a number of different individuals. She learned about the power, or the cycle of power and control, really learned about what this was, the impact it was having on our children, but more, she learned she had a voice and she had the ability to talk about something. We talk a lot about first responders at Human Options because we know that for every person that walks through our door, there are thousands that never make it to us. And the reason they don't is because it's incredibly difficult to tell their story. When somebody comes to you and tells their story, please listen. It's a very emotional time for them. Pause and take the time to really ask and be empathetic. I know it's difficult not to judge. I know it's difficult not to jump to solutions, but this might be the only time somebody has the courage to come forward. Don't force the conversation. They'll tell you what they can. Do what you can to connect them. Many people, again, it's their first time. They don't think you're going to believe them. If you ask too many questions, they feel judged. But really trying to say and understand, no one should ever do this to you. Earlier, the ambassador talked about how the problem has become she's a battered woman. That's what this young boy saw in this picture, right? He saw a battered woman. When somebody comes and reaches out for you, look for someone else. Don't see the battered woman. See the woman who has been harmed by the person that she cared about most. See the mom that is trying to raise her children in an abusive home and that needs your support. As an organization, there are many organizations in Orange County that could provide help. Again, first responders, we believe that all of you can make the difference in someone's life. All of you have the ability to connect someone. Our services may not be the best for everybody, but we know that when you call the hotline, we can connect you, and we can also assist you in helping somebody else. When a mom gets connected to the right type of support, you can turn a mom from a battered woman into a successful, triumphant, empowered woman. The young boy that drew the picture before, this is what he said to his mom when he gave her both pictures. He said, "Mom, months ago, I had watched you being abused, and I watched you, and I watched you, and I thought, oh my gosh, my mom is broken. She'll never be the woman she was before she met my stepfather." After she went to counseling and got connected to services, he drew this picture of her. What an empowering, incredible way for a young boy to tell his mom that he saw the difference because somebody cared about her and somebody listened to the story. Everybody in this room can help a young boy and a young girl see their mom as the hero that she is and see her as a strong, empowered person, because that young boy and that young girl will continue to lead this world into the future. Thank you.